I did not expect to wake up and make a second episode of Pancit podcast today. Welcome back to the Jangwlo YouTube channel. It's been about 3 months since the last vlog and 11 months since the last Pancit podcast episode. And in 2 weeks, it'll be a year since I first created the one and only episode of Pancit podcast. And just like 11 months ago, I'm doing this on a whim today. Did not expect this, but I'm glad to be back. And, I should probably explain why I've been gone for 11 months in doing podcasts. I just didn't feel the need to really venture and create another episode. To be honest, I've never really been that much of a podcast guy, so when I first did the idea, I just wanted something new to do in life. And now that I'm back, I think it's better suited to rebrand as maybe just a talk session, not just some big podcast episode. And I think that's the route that I'm going to go with in the future. Regarding UNICEF and regarding Kids Up Strong, the two ventures that I quit, I feel that there was some stuff that was left to be desired, and that there was so much work that I could have done, but there comes a time and there comes a place where someone has to realize that the contributions that they're giving isn't up to par with what the club expects. And I put myself to such a high standard, and I felt like I was never ever reaching the standard with Kids Up Strong and UNICEF Club. I just never felt like I was giving it my all, giving it my passion, giving it my work. And I felt like I diverted most of my time and most of my energy to Key Club, and that's true. But that's because I find passion in Key Club. I find passion in taking photos. I find passion in, writing 15 pages worth of journals every day. I find passion in little things that are outside of school. Look, I've never been a work person, to be honest, but I know that my happiness is worth much more than the work. And I also realize that trying to tough it out through burnout is so wrong on so many levels. There's no way to try to tough yourself out of burnout. There's no way for me to try to dig myself out of a hole without trying to kind of put myself deeper. And I think that's some things that a lot of people haven't realized, that sometimes you can't dig yourself out of a hole. Sometimes you have to stay in the hole, and sometimes you have to just stay there and try to think and try to breathe a little bit. It kind of felt so overwhelming. It felt overwhelming. It felt tiring, waking up every day, knowing I had like 10 stuff to do. And along with my 3 AP classes, it always felt like I was just getting behind and behind and behind. And it never truly felt like I was ever getting ahead. And when I first did these ventures, I really thought that I would get ahead with these ventures. I would put myself forward, and my foot would go forward with me. And it always felt like my head was going forward, but I never felt like my heart was going forward. And it just felt disheartening to me that I was in something that I wasn't giving my everything to, that I was in something that my heart wasn't in and my passion wasn't in. And I think that's the main reason why I quit. And I do feel bad, especially because I look at the future of the UNICEF Club, and my UNICEF Club's future isn't bright. It's dim. There's a lot of work to be done, and I don't think with the current board and the current motivation, I don't think that success. What's the word? Succeeding, succeeding moments, and I think that was partially my fault. I didn't step in more. I didn't try to be involved more. I quit. Well, I quit, but I still want to be a member because I still want to believe that there's a future for the club. And in Kids Up Strong, I know their future is bright even without me. There's 10 members. Well, without me, it's 9. So 9 members of very qualified, and they're just so qualified, and I love them so much. But with UNICEF, there was a lot of stuff that I felt like wasn't going our direction. It felt like a lot of the stuff that was not happening was just weighing down on me. And to be honest, a part of the decision that I made was to escape the responsibility. And of course, the most important part was to protect my peace because I've been so overwhelmed across the last few months. But a part of me was thinking, how can I jump off this ship without anybody noticing? And it's harsh for me to think that, but I know it's the truth, and I know you have to be truthful. But really, when I made the decision, I was also thinking, how can I get off the ship and get into a lifeboat and get on land? I love the club. I think there are people in there that really can contribute, but it's been a problem for the last year. Well, since April, when me and Cordero made the club, there's just been problems that it doesn't seem as though a solution is there, especially with this current situation that we have. I don't think that the future is bright, but I believe the future can be saved. I in my writings, I always write down kind of a recurring theme in my journals that a winner doesn't quit on themselves. And I make myself repeat those words to me every single day. I basically write them down, probably every day as well, that a winner doesn't quit on themselves. There's no point in quitting, especially how important UNICEF Club is to some people. Even if it doesn't seem important to others, I can see the importance it has to other members of the club, and I value that importance. And I hope, and I really, really hope, that even as a member, I can contribute my hardest and my best, even if I'm no longer in a position of power, even if I'm no longer influencing the decisions. It's needed for people to step up when the time is needed. And I think in the next few months, there will have to be a lot of stepping up from people that I or Cordero might not expect. But there's new people, there's going to be new ideas, and I sincerely hope, with everything that I have, that UNICEF's future will become a bright future at Bremerton. But, moving on to other ventures and my other clubs, Key Club has always been my day one. It's always been my utmost important club because I just love the club so much. With my plan to run for LTG in January, I'm just trying to get everything ready, trying to do the best I can and the most I can. And the job of treasurer, when I was presented with it last January or February, whenever I got elected, it was presented to me as a job that didn't really have much responsibility. And so I took that in the first 3 months, and I was kind of a lame duck for the first 3 months of my term. But immediately when September hit, I made it a key point in my term to help whenever there was something else going on. Whenever someone wasn't pulling their weight, I knew that I had to be there, and I knew I could do the job pretty well. And I hope that in January, when my LTG run, when I run for LTG, that I win. Um, I don't think there's ever been a competitive election in my division's history, but I'm not treating this as I'm gonna walk in there and I'm gonna win, because I don't think anyone should ever treat an election like this, especially with this much importance, leading 5 schools in a division. Anything could happen, and I expect anything and everything to happen in January when I walk into that building and make my speech. And although I don't have a speech right now, and I know I promised Cordero I would create a speech in November, it will have to be pushed back to December, because I think that in the experiences that I have here in November will not be the same experiences that I'll have in January. And there's so much left of Key Club to do in December, especially with winter events, and there's so much in January left to do before decon and before I make my speech to run for Lieutenant Governor. You know, I'm not walking into this LTG race extremely confident, but I know that I have credentials that could absolutely do good with the job. But yeah, that's pretty much it for Key Club. I'm confident that we'll bring a lot of people to decon. I'm happy with what we've done. I'm actually overjoyed with the progress that's been achieved in the last basically 130 days since the beginning of school. It is such a drastic change from the first 3 months of my Key Club term, and I'm so proud of all of us, especially with, in the first couple months of the term, having a president switch. In the first months of the year, not having our president there sometimes, not having our editor sometimes, and then here in December, not having our secretary for about a month. Even with the problems that we face, we have always found a way to not give up. And that's what I love about Key Club. We have never found a way not to try. We've always tried. Even in our worst months, the last 3 months of last year, we tried. Even if the attempt was not attempting, we tried. And that's what I really admire about the club. And that's what I just really admire about people. It's always worth a shot. And even if it doesn't pan out, even if you become like me and quit 2 positions at school, it is always worth a shot. And it's always worth the learning experience that comes with it. And it's always worth the time and the people that you meet. I think if I had to sum up my high school experience in one word, it would be people. I've met so many people that I'd never thought I would talk to this many people in my life, that I'd meet this many people, and that I'd be friends with them. I grew up as a kid not really talking to people. That lasted up until middle school, up until 9th grade, and this year that has really just changed. And my perspective on things have really, really changed. Even my, my MBTI changed from INFP to ENFP, which I find kind of astounding since I was INFP for like 6 years, and now I'm ENFP, and it's kind of a weird change to me. I'd never grasped that I'd ever become an extrovert, and it's a new feeling. It's definitely a new feeling. Ever since I resigned from my 2 positions, I think things have gotten way easier, especially in academics. Balancing 3 AP classes isn't for the weak. And there are still moments where I struggle, but I think it was on Tuesday. Yesterday was Tuesday. I fully completed a French assignment on time, early, for the first time in probably a month and a half. And I think that was the moment when I finished that assignment where I realized that I was finally back on track. I finally found motivation to do what was best, to finally find the path that was right. Because ever since September, from September to about mid-November, it kind of felt like I was trying to run a race that I wasn't going to win. I realized that on Monday I was never going to win this race. So it was the best decision to quit and take a back seat because I'm a firm believer that although it's so important to do extracurriculars for the experience, it's also I'm a firm believer in not putting your ego into things. Like my ego is very very on the bottom of the barrel of what I do, and when I think of stuff I do, I never think of my ego. I think of the people that are counting on me. And I think about the health of the clubs that I do and the stuff that I want the club to achieve. Whenever I think about a venture, I think about what can we achieve. It's never what can I achieve. And that's what I think is my most important trait. Although I can be very unserious sometimes, I can also be very real and um, be in touch with what is happening and knowing when it's time to take a back seat, knowing when it's time to quit, but also knowing when to stay in the fray. And I think the future of the clubs that I quit, I think they're going to be okay. There may be tough times, but as someone said probably that there will always be tough times, but there will always be good times too. You know, I leave school and I go to bed with optimism that I don't think I have had since the summer. In the summer, there were so many feelings of optimism of the future that this school year was going to be the work year. Figures it was the work year, but it was also the year of transformation. So many things have changed in the span of the last 130 days ever since we started this school year. In the last 100 days, things have gone absolutely wild. Um, Things that would have been huge in freshman years seem so small now and so in the past that it took me a while to fully process everything that was going on because there was something new every day. There was something that changed the mojo, something that changed the whole attitude of something every single day. And that will continue and it still continues. But there was just a feeling of instability and vitality, whatever the word is. It just felt unstable to go to school because something was always happening that negatively impacted somebody, that changed everything for the worse. And I think in October that really hit a peak where stuff just kept happening and happening and happening. And I think I can attribute that to there was just so many hidden feelings in October, in September, that people were just hiding away. I think the feeling of the sophomore slump that my classmates have felt really, really hit. And it hit everyone, I think, in October. And for me, it hit about early November. I tried to fight it off for so long. I thought I would beat expectation, but clearly I'm just a normal person and I succumbed to the sophomore slump as well. And there's no reason to believe that I can't succumb to it again. But I think now the change is here, and I think I've learned to finally put it in my mind that change was here and change was every day. I just have to not fight it but go with it. Um, there was a lot of times when I entered the school year, I thought I'm just gonna go with the flow. I even put it on an Instagram caption on my spam account saying, I'm gonna go wherever the road takes me. And I backfired on my own belief within a month because I tried to fight. I tried to ignore the stuff that was happening around me. I tried to ignore the assignments. I tried to ignore the social problems because I thought if I just get through it, if I just try to fight through it, I can get there. I can get to the other side. Not believing that if I just went with it, I would get to the other side faster, I would get to the other side quicker, and I would probably be on the other side happier. And I think that was the big thing that I've learned this year, was that change was here, change is always here, and that you need to be dynamic, and I needed to be transformative. In any situation, I needed to learn when to fit the mold of the situation. And I think I've gained back a lot of motivation that I've lost, especially when doing this um, Jangwlo Diaries or podcast or whatever. I finally have found the motivation to come back. And I don't think in the past, even through the summer when I had motivation, I never put it into action. And finally, I'm coming back to this. I don't know if I'll post a vlog. I don't have enough footage, to be honest, but coming back to pancit podcast, I think was a necessary step for me to kind of envision my vision board. And because I created a vision board when entering the school year, and I think I did about 7 out of the 15. Now I'm working on the 8. And I can finally say that I'm happy while working on my goals now, because I've kind of put my goals aside in the past month and a half. I put my happiness aside. I was fully in workaholic mode. But now I think I'm back. And I hope that I continue this feeling of being back here and not struggling so much. And I know my friends are struggling too. My friends struggled a lot over the past month and a half, over the past 2 months, over the past 3 months. And there's no word salad, I guess, I can give them to help them. But maybe, just maybe, taking a step back, looking at the situation, and just maybe giving yourself some time to breathe. That's what I did. I gave myself a moment to say, this is too much. I'm doing too much, and I just need to sit down and take a break. And I only needed a day or two break, and it made me change my whole mindset for the rest until at least winter break. And I just hope that this continues, and I hope that I can bring another episode to you guys, episode 2 of Jangwlo Diaries, because I'm not remaking Pancit Pod. That shit was embarrassing, but I'm just glad to be back, and I hope to be back again. So I'll see you guys hopefully in a week or two, hopefully not in 11 months, in December of 2025, but maybe not.